Marcus Carlson's here with the latest. We're going to begin with attempts to turn around the fortunes of France's biggest car maker.
Yeah, we are talking about Peugeot Citroën, and that car maker's new chief executive has pledged to return the company to profitability by 2018. And as part of that turnaround plan, Carlos Tavares says the company will almost halve the number of models, and its Citroën DS line will become a brand in its own right. But the stock markets, they seem to be giving the plans a thumbs down, at least initially, with Peugeot Citroën shares losing more than 6% at the start of the trading week. Kyle Brown has more.
Europe's second largest automotive group says it's back in the race. French car maker PSA Peugeot Citroën plans to reduce costs and slash the number of models sold under the reforms of new CEO Carlos Tavares.
As you know, the recovery process is already underway, but there's still much to do. And the target of the Back in the Race plan is to allow the company to complete its recovery.
Peugeot plans to reduce the number of models in its product portfolio from 45 to 26 by 2020, focusing on the most profitable cars. On Monday, the company pledged to develop new plug-in hybrids, four-wheel drive vehicles, and self-driving cars. And it will continue to expand beyond the family car market by further developing Citroën's premium DS brand. Tavares says Peugeot's corporate culture needs to shift to reverse recent losses. After losing more than 7.2 billion euros over the past 2 years, Peugeot struck a rescue deal in February. It sold 14% stakes each to the French government and China's Dongfeng Motor Group for a cash injection of 3 billion euros. Like his predecessors, Tavares seeks to continue to expand Peugeot's penetration into emerging markets.
As I said before, Peugeot Citroën shares, they were down almost 6% at the close, or more than 6% at the close. And we've saw a pretty active stock market day when it comes to the markets this Monday. European shares, they were in negative territory throughout much of Monday, weighed down by concerns over the Ukraine crisis. In the end, though, the markets this side of the Atlantic ended in positive territory, boosted by a strong opening in the United States. In the United States, we have seen gains following the news that retail sales were up 1.1% in March, the biggest monthly gain in a year's time. Better than expected earnings from Citigroup also helped earlier. As you can see, though, we've seen some stock markets in the United States, but in particular the Nasdaq, lose some steam as the EU, for instance, said that it would add fresh names to a list of individuals subjected to asset freezes and travel bans in connection with the Ukraine crisis. The EU expanded that list, and since then we have seen the American stock markets too come down ever so slightly because of concerns over the Ukraine crisis. Now, the tensions between Ukraine and Russia was also on the agenda when France's Prime Minister travelled to Germany this Monday. It was the first Germany trip for Manuel Valls since he became head of government. He pledged that France would keep its commitments to the rest of the European Union when it comes to the budget deficit. The French government has pledged to bring its budget deficit down to 3% of France's economic output by 2015. Valls has previously indicated that he wanted to renegotiate the pace of the deficit reduction, which has sparked criticism and concern in Brussels as well as Berlin.
France is a country which sticks to its commitments, and as Finance Minister Michel Sapin confirmed today, we will respect all commitments because France's word and France's credibility are at stake here. Nobody can question France's credibility.
Okay, let's talk you through a few other stories that we're following for you. The World Trade Organization says global trade is accelerating and will grow by 4.7% this year. That's slightly higher than a previous forecast from the WTO, but it's still underneath a long-time average. The WTO says it expects trade to continue to grow in Asia, while a sluggish European recovery will lead to slower growth when it comes to trade in Europe. French oil giant Total is going ahead with a $16 billion project to develop a new oil field off Angola. The company says it's going ahead after cutting the estimated cost of the project by $4 billion. Production is set to start in 2017, and the project is set to cement Total as the top operator in Angola. It's also forecast to help Angola overtake Nigeria as Africa's top oil producer. And tobacco companies Philip Morris and British American Tobacco are facing a lawsuit in South Korea. They're being sued alongside a local rival by the country's state health insurer. It's seeking around $52 million to compensate for costs linked to smoking-related diseases. The potential cost is seen to be relatively small for the global tobacco companies, but analysts say it could become a test case that could lead to additional lawsuits elsewhere. OK, that is the business news for now. I'll be back again in an hour with more. Back to you now, Tom.
Thank you very much indeed, Marcus Carlson. Well, up next, it's time for a check of what's going on in cyberspace. Web News starts right now.